Welcome to Revisit Books podcast, where we turn books into bite-sized wisdom you can use every day. Today, we are jumping straight into, well, a really critical topic for pretty much everyone right now, attention. Or maybe the lack of it.
Yeah, exactly. Feels like it's getting harder and harder to focus.
It does. So we're digging into Chris Bailey's 2018 book, Hyperfocus, The New Science of Attention, Productivity, and Creativity. Now, Bailey, he's the guy behind the Productivity Project, right? Spent a year doing all those crazy experiments on himself.
That's him. And you can really see hyperfocus as kind of the core thinking behind all that productivity work. It gets to the why and how of focus itself.
So what kicked this off for him? Was it just more research or something personal?
Oh, it was deeply personal. And that's what makes it so relatable, I think. Bailey, this productivity expert, he basically admitted he was losing the battle himself.
Really? Even him?
Yeah. He found that the more gadgets he got, the more distracted he felt. He put it really well. Something like, I'd never been so busy while accomplishing so little.
Oof. I think a lot of us can feel that constant busyness, but not actually getting anywhere important.
Totally. Restless. Always looking for the next little hit of stimulation, Falling into multitasking, even though he knew it didn't work. It wasn't about ability. It was fundamentally an attention crisis.
That paradox, always busy, but sort of aimless, it feels like the default state these days. It's almost easier, isn't it, to just clear the inbox while you're half listening to something else rather than tackling the big, hard thing.
It absolutely feels easier in the moment. So, yeah, his starting point was realizing he needed a better way for himself first, but he didn't just rely on anecdotes.
So how did he move past the usual, just focus harder advice?
Well, he really grounded it in science, like serious science. He pulled together tons of academic studies, looked back at decades of research, and actually talked to the leading researchers in the field.
Like who? Anyone we'd know.
People like Gloria Mark, who studies how tech impacts us at work, and Peter Gollwitzer, the go-to guy for understanding how we actually follow through on our intentions. That's the strength here. It cuts through the noise and focuses on what the research actually says works.
Okay, so based on all that, what's the core idea? What's the solution he landed on?
It's really a two-part strategy. It's not just about blocking out distractions, though that's part of it.
Right.
It's about deliberately managing two different, equally important mental states.
Two states. Okay, what are they?
So part one is mastering that intense, deep focus state. He calls it hyperfocus. That's for getting your most important work done, really maximizing quality and output.
Makes sense. That's what we usually think of as focus.
Exactly. But part two is the kicker, the really counterintuitive bit. It's learning how to intentionally unfocus. He calls this scatterfocus.
Unfocus?
Yeah.
Like on purpose? That
Yeah.
sounds wrong.
I know, right? But he argues this deliberate mind wandering is absolutely essential. It's how we genuinely relax, recharge our mental batteries. And this is crucial. It's where new ideas and creativity often come from.
Huh. I remember seeing a quote from Greg McKeown, the Essentialism author, praising the book. He said something about Bailey showing focus as both a noun, like your intention, and a verb, like the act of connecting ideas.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just an on-off switch. It's a whole approach, a strategy for managing your mental energy.
Strategy. Okay.
And Sean Acor, the happiness and success researcher, he liked it because it gives you a practical way to shape your reality. If you buy the idea that what you pay attention to is your reality, then learning to direct that attention, well, that's the key to success, happiness, everything. It's the ultimate lever.
Okay, this sounds powerful. So let's think about who listening right now really needs this. Who is this book for?
Honestly, it's probably for anyone who feels like their brain's natural tendencies are constantly fighting against the modern world.
What do you mean by natural tendencies?
Well, our brains evolve for a very different environment, right? Survival, spotting threats, finding mates, seeking out new food sources, that kind of thing.
Okay.
In today's world, that translates into this constant craving for novelty, for quick dopamine hits, for instant gratification. And those things are the enemies of deep, focused work. They just feed distraction.
Which brings us right back to the smartphone, that little rectangle of pure novelty.
It was designed to hijack that part of our brain.
Yeah.
Perfectly engineered distraction.
Yeah.
Bailey uses this simple story from a diner. He sees these two young women sitting together talking, supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah, because their phones are always there. On the table, face down, face up, constantly being checked. They're physically present, but their attention is fragmented. They're just skimming the surface of actually connecting.
That's sadly familiar. And Bailey himself had to go to extremes sometimes.
He did. He mentions choosing cafes specifically because they didn't have Wi-Fi, or leaving his phone at home entirely when he needed to really concentrate. He recognized that constant connectivity was the main enemy of focus.
So dealing with that led him to rethink productivity itself.
Exactly. And this is a huge takeaway for anyone listening. We tend to think of productivity as this, like, cold corporate efficiency thing, squeezing every last drop out of the day.
Yeah, hustle culture.
Right. Bailey flips that. He says productivity is simply accomplishing what we intend to do. Full stop.
Accomplishing what we intend to do. Okay, that feels different, more human.
It is. It's liberating, isn't it?
Yeah.
If your intention for Sunday is to finally relax and watch that movie without checking your work email, and you actually do that, you were perfectly productive.
Huh. I like that definition. So relaxing can be productive.
If that was your intention, absolutely. And the flip side is it exposes all that busy work for what it often is.
What do you mean?
You know, that frantic shuffling of papers, reorganizing files that don't need reorganizing, tweaking a spreadsheet for an hour. Bailey calls that kind of stuff an active form of laziness.
Laziness. That sounds harsh.
Well, think about it. Your brain is avoiding the real difficult, important work by finding something else that feels complicated or busy, but doesn't actually move the needle on your main goals. If you're busy but not achieving your intentions, you're not being productive.
Okay, that really sets the stage. It's not just about willpower. We need actual strategies. Let's get into the science then. Takeaway number 1. The scarcity of attention itself.
Right. This is where you grasp the physical limits we're dealing with. It's kind of mind-blowing. Imagine all the sensory input hitting you right now. Sights, sounds, feelings.
Yeah, a lot.
Our senses send something like 11 million bits of information to the brain every single second.
11 million? That's impossible to process.
Exactly. It's a total fire hose. And our conscious brain, the part that can actually focus and think deliberately, can only handle about 40 bits out of those 11 million at any one time.
40 out of 11 million? That's tiny.
Yeah.
Like sipping from that fire hose through a coffee stirrer.
Precisely. A minuscule straw. We are constantly filtering out almost everything just to function.
Wow. Okay, so 40 bits. To make that concrete, how much does something simple like, say, listening to this conversation take up?
A huge chunk, actually. Researchers like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, famous for the flow state work figure, that just properly decoding one side of a conversation, understanding the meaning, the nuance, thinking about your reply, that uses up more than half of your 40 bits.
More than half, just for listening.
Yeah, which is exactly why you can't really have two meaningful conversations at once, or why trying to text while driving is so incredibly dangerous. Your conscious capacity is just completely maxed out. Deep listening is genuinely hard work for the brain.
And it's not just the right now capacity, is it? Our short-term memory has limits too.
Absolutely. That brings us to that classic idea, often linked to George Miller's research, the magic number 7 plus or minus 2. Our working memory, the mental scratch pad we use, can generally only hold about 7 distinct chunks of information at once.
7 things. You see that everywhere, don't you? Phone numbers broken up, the rule of 3 in stories.
Yep. 7 deadly sins, 7 wonders of the world. It seems baked into how we organize things because it fits our cognitive limits. We naturally chunk information together.
So chunking is the key. How does that work for complex stuff, though? Not just a phone number, but like a big project at work.
That's a really important point. For knowledge work, chunking means taking a complex idea, maybe a huge report or a project plan, and mentally summarizing it down into a single concept.
Give me an example.
Okay, say you have a 50-page market analysis. If you can boil that down in your head to the core idea, like target millennial market segment C, that whole 50 pages now only takes up one of your 7 slots.
Ah, I see.
But if you don't chunk it, if you try to hold on to every individual finding or paragraph, you overload your working memory almost instantly. Cognitive gridlock.
Okay, so processing is limited to 40 bits. Short-term memory is about 7 chunks. If we're not deliberately directing that scarce resource, what's the biggest consequence? What's the main cost of this attention overflow?
Bailey argues the single biggest cost is slipping into autopilot mode. Just going through the motions without conscious thought.
Autopilot. We need it for some things, right? Like brushing teeth.
Sure, for routine, low-stakes stuff, it's efficient, saves energy. But the danger is when we let autopilot handle important decisions or tasks.
Like what kind of decisions?
He points out we often start big things, new projects, buying stuff, even forming opinions, not because we decided to intentionally, but just through this gradual accumulation of mentions. We saw it on social media, heard a colleague mention it. It just sort of happens to us.
And if we're always on autopilot, just reacting, does that affect more than just our decisions?
Definitely. It impacts memory. You literally can't form strong memories if you're not paying proper attention in the first place.
Ah, because attention is needed to encode the memory.
Exactly. Think about scrolling your phone while watching a movie. You're physically there, but mentally you're checked out. You won't remember the movie details well, and weirdly, you probably won't even remember much about what you were scrolling through either.
So your experience of time gets fuzzy.
Yeah, technology can make time feel like it's speeding up. Because we cram our attention so full, we don't lay down those rich memory markers of how the time was actually spent.
Okay, that's a powerful argument for being more intentional. If autopilot is the default danger zone, how do we consciously take the wheel?
He gives us two really solid science-backed tools here. First up is the rule of three.
The rule of three, what's that?
Simple but effective. At the start of your day, or your week, or even planning your year, you identify the three most important things you want to have accomplished by the end of that time. Just three.
Only three? That sounds restrictive. What about everything else?
It forces you to prioritize ruthlessly. What are the absolute highest leverage things, the tasks that, if you do them, will make the biggest difference or make other things easier? It pushes you away from the trivial many towards the vital few.
Okay, I can see the focusing power there. But life happens, right? Fires pop up, other people need things. How do you stick to your rule of three when the day throws curveballs?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's where the second tool comes in, which is maybe even more critical: specific implementation intentions.
Implementation intentions. Sounds academic.
It comes from Peter Golwitz's research, and it's incredibly practical. The basic idea is that just intending to do something like, I'll work on that report later, is really weak. It relies too much on willpower in the moment.
So what makes it stronger?
You need to link your intended action to a specific cue, a time, a place, an event. You create a pre-planned response.
Can you give a really concrete example, like super specific?
Sure. Instead of the vague, I'll go to the gym this week, a strong implementation intention would be, if it's Tuesday and my 5:00 p.m. meeting ends, then I will immediately change into my gym clothes and drive straight to the gym. Or maybe for work. If I finish my morning coffee, then I will close my email tab and work on my #1 Rule 3 task for 60 minutes.
Okay, so it's an if-then plan. If situation X occurs, then I will perform action Y.
Exactly. You're essentially preloading the decision. When the cue happens, the action follows almost automatically, bypassing that moment of hesitation where you might otherwise talk yourself out of it.
Does this actually work? Like, what's the success rate difference?
It's dramatic. Bailey highlights studies showing huge differences. In one, students with just vague goals followed through maybe 22% of the time.
Okay, pretty low.
But the students who set those specific if-then implementation intentions, they follow through 62% of the time.
Wow, almost triple the success rate just by planning how and when.
Yep. It doubles or triples your odds because you're leveraging habit formation rather than just relying on finite willpower. It's a game changer for actually doing what you intend to do.
Right, that lays the groundwork for intention. Now, let's tackle the external world. Pillar 2, taming distractions. This feels like the everyday battleground for most of us.
It really is. And the surprising thing from the research, like Gloria Mark's work, is that the enemy isn't always external. We interrupt ourselves just as much, if not more, than other people or notifications interrupt us.
We sabotage ourselves. Why?
It's that novelty bias again. We get a little bored or stuck on hard tasks, and our brain craves a quick hit of something new, something easier. So we switch.
And this happens fast, right? That 40-second finding you mentioned.
Yeah, it's startling. On average, knowledge workers switch tasks, often to something less important, about every 40 seconds. 40 seconds. That's how strong the pull of distraction is, even without an external ping. Just the possibility of something new on Twitter or email is enough to lure us away.
Okay, so if we're fighting our own impulses too, we desperately need environmental control. What are the best practical ways to build that distraction-free zone for hyperfocus? Let's start with the physical space.
The big principle here is temporal distance. Basically, making distractions harder to get to.
Temporal distance? Like time distance?
Sort of. It's about increasing the time and effort it takes to reach the distraction. If your phone is right there on the desk, face up, the barrier to picking it up is 0. It takes no time, no effort.
So make it harder.
Exactly. Bailey suggests putting major distractions, especially the phone, at least 20 seconds away. Put it in a drawer, put it in another room. That 20 seconds might not seem like much, but it creates a crucial pause between the impulse check phone, and the action.
A buffer zone for your conscious brain to kick in and say, wait, no, I'm focusing.
Precisely. It breaks the automatic loop. Another key thing is managing the social environment, or at least our perception of it. We often overestimate how much people need us right now. We're afraid to close email for 30 minutes thinking colleagues will freak out.
Yeah, that fear is real.
But think about it. If you were stuck in a 2-hour meeting, they'd wait, right? Setting boundaries, like closing email or chat for focused work blocks, is usually way more acceptable than we think. People adapt.
Good point. Okay, physical space, social expectations. What about the devices themselves? How do we lock those down?
Ruthlessly. First, kill the notifications. Turn off almost all audible alerts, vibration alerts, anything that steals your attention without your permission.
Be brutal.
Be brutal. And limit apps. Does your news app really need to be on your phone, tablet, and watch? Pick one device for distracting apps if you must have them. And Bailey has this great tip. Create a folder on your phone screen, literally called Mindless.
Mindless, huh?
Yeah. Put all those time-wasting, compulsive apps in there, social media, endless news feeds, whatever your poison is. Just seeing the folder name acts as a tiny little intervention. It forces you to acknowledge what you're about to do.
That's clever. A little bit of shame-based design.
Whatever works. And for anyone tempted by the next new gadget, the latest smartwatch or tablet,
Oh yeah, the shiny new tech syndrome.
there's a great filter question, borrowed from Clayton Christensen's work on innovation. It's the jobs to be done test.
Jobs to be done.
Before you buy any new device, ask yourself, what specific job am I hiring this thing to do that my current devices cannot already do?
Ah, okay, so it forces you to justify its existence.
Exactly. Your phone already does 50 jobs: camera, GPS, communication, music. If you're thinking about a tablet and the main job you can identify is browse Instagram more comfortably on the sofa, you're probably just adding redundant distraction, not value. Use tech intentionally, not just because it's new.
Right. Purge the unnecessary. Okay, so we've set intentions, we've tried to tame the environment, but we still have to do the work, including the stuff we don't like. This brings us to takeaway 3, understanding what kind of work we're doing using the productivity quadrant.
Yes, the quadrant is super helpful for classifying tasks. It looks at everything you do through 2 simple lenses. Is this task productive meaning? Does it achieve significant results? And is it attractive meaning? Is it fun, easy, or engaging for you? Or is it unattractive, boring, difficult, tedious?
Okay, productive, unproductive, attractive, unattractive. What are the 4 combinations? Where do we want to be?
Ideally, you spend most of your time in the top half. First, there's purposeful work. This is the sweet spot. High impact and engaging for you. It's attractive and productive.
Like what?
This is usually the stuff you're uniquely good at, the core of your role or your passion. Writing that book, designing that product, having a deep strategic conversation with a client, maybe even quality focus time with your kids. This demands hyperfocus.
Got it. The high value, engaging stuff. What's the other productive category?
That's necessary work. This stuff is productive, it needs to get done, but it's unattractive.
Sure.
It's the boring, difficult, or tedious but essential tasks.
The chores of work life.
Pretty much. Think quarterly budget reviews, mandatory compliance training, dealing with complex admin, preparing your taxes. You have to consciously push yourself into hyperfocus here because your brain naturally wants to avoid it.
Okay, so purposeful and necessary are the goal zones. What are the time-wasting zones at the bottom?
First, you have distracting work. This is the siren call. It's attractive, fun, easy, quick, but it's totally unproductive.
This sounds familiar.
Oh, yeah. Checking social media for the 10th time, endlessly refreshing news feeds, browsing shopping sites, playing simple games. It feels good in the moment, but achieves absolutely nothing towards your rule of 3 goals.
And the last quadrant. This one sounds the worst.
It kind of is. It's unnecessary work. This is both unproductive and unattractive. It's often stuff we do when we're procrastinating on purposeful or necessary work.
Like what?
Rearranging your desk drawers again. Spending hours fiddling with the formatting on a document that's good enough. Over-organizing email folders. Constantly checking analytics that you don't actually use to make decisions. It's busy work that feels vaguely useful but isn't. Bailey calls this the active laziness zone.
So the truly productive person basically lives in the top 2 quadrants, purposeful and necessary, and ruthlessly eliminates the bottom 2, distracting and unnecessary.
That's the ideal, yeah. And to do that, you often have to tackle the 2 biggest culprits in modern work life that often fall into the lower quadrants.
Let me guess. Email and meetings.
You got it. They are colossal time and attention sinks. Research suggests knowledge workers can spend over a third of their time, like 37%, just in meetings.
Wow. So how do you fight back against meeting creep?
Strict rules. Rule 1. Never attend a meeting without a clear agenda sent in advance. If you don't know the goal, you shouldn't be there. And push back gently if the goal could clearly be met with a quick email or call instead.
That takes some courage in some organizations.
It does. But it's necessary. Rule 2. Question every single recurring meeting on your calendar. Does it still serve a vital purpose? Could it be shorter? Could attendance be optional? Be skeptical. Rule 3. If you have to be there, be fully there. Leave your phone behind. Engage, contribute, help keep things on track, and aim to finish early. Don't let it drift. Practice hyperfocus in the meeting.
Okay, meeting managed. What about the other beast? Email. You mentioned a study showing how stressful it is.
Yeah, that's a major stressor.
Ugh.
The study basically took email away from participants for a week. And what happened? They became significantly less stressed, they could focus on tasks for longer stretches without switching, and they multitasked less. They felt liberated.
A whole week without email. Sounds like heaven and hell combined. How can we get some of that benefit without going cold turkey?
Bailey suggests a few tactics. For big focus projects, try using an email holiday autoresponder. Let people know you're deep in work, checking email less frequently, and provide a phone number for genuine emergencies. People are often more understanding than you fear.
Okay, manage expectations. What else?
Be brief. Try the 5-sentence rule for your replies. Keep it concise. You can even put a note in your signature saying, you're doing this to save everyone time, and if more discussion is needed, suggest a call.
Forces clarity. I like it.
And finally, the pause button, especially for important or emotionally charged emails. Wait before sending. Sleep on it? Often, after some reflection, you'll realize a response isn't needed or you'll craft a much better one. Don't just fire off reactions.
Okay, these are great strategies for getting into hyperfocus mode. But now we hit the really mind-bending part. Takeaway 4. The absolute necessity of unfocusing. This is the scatterfocus idea.
Exactly. This is where Bailey really challenges the always-on, always-focused mentality. He argues that learning to intentionally let your mind wander scatterfocus is just as important as learning to focus intensely, maybe even more so for creativity and long-term sustainability.
Why? What happens when we unfocus?
It activates a different network in the brain, often called the default mode network, DMN. This network lights up when we're not actively focused on an external task, when we're daydreaming, letting our minds drift. And the DMN, it turns out, is heavily involved in things like self-reflection, recalling memories, thinking about the future, and crucially, connecting disparate ideas. It's the engine of insight.
So scatterfocus isn't just zoning out, it's engaging a different valuable brain state. How do we do it effectively? Bailey breaks it down, right?
He does, into 3 main styles. The first is capture mode. This is for when you're doing something boring or passive, maybe waiting in line, doing chores like ironing, just staring out the window.
Okay, leveraging boredom, what do?
You intentionally let your mind wander, but you keep a notepad or your phone's note app handy. As your mind drifts, unresolved things, tasks, worries, ideas will pop up. These are what David Allen calls open loops.
Open loops, like unfinished business in your head.
Exactly. That appointment you forgot to make, the email you need to send, that nagging feeling about a project. These things take up mental RAM. In capture mode, when they surface, you just quickly jot them down, capture them. This gets them out of your head and frees up that mental space.
So you're cleaning out the mental clutter that emerges when you stop actively focusing.
Precisely. The second style is more active, problem crunching mode. This is for when you're actively stuck on a specific, difficult problem that hyperfocus couldn't solve.
Okay, what's the technique?
You hold the problem lightly in your mind, you don't force it, and then you deliberately let your mind wander around it. You allow the DMN to make those non-obvious lateral connections. If your mind drifts completely off topic, you gently guide it back towards the problem area. It's like letting your subconscious chew on it from different angles.
For the really big, naughty challenge.
Exactly. Save it for those. And the third style, which is maybe the easiest to integrate daily, is habitual scatterfocus. Yeah. This involves doing a simple, routine, habitual task that doesn't require much conscious thought, folding laundry, taking a familiar walk, washing dishes, your commute maybe.
Things you can do on autopilot.
Right. Since the habit itself is running on autopilot, your conscious attention, those 40 bits, is free. You can let your mind wander generally, or maybe listen to a podcast or audiobook while your DMN works in the background, connecting ideas related to things you've been thinking about. It's combining a low-effort task with intentional mind wandering.
It's fascinating how stepping away seems to be the key to breakthroughs. Why does Scatterfocus trigger those aha moments?
It ties into something called the Zeigarnik effect. This is the psychological tendency to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks much better than completed ones. Those open loops or unsolved problems stay active in our subconscious.
Okay, they stick around.
So when you hit a wall with hyperfocus and step away into scatterfocus, that problem is still simmering below the surface. As your mind wanders, it starts connecting that simmering problem with new stimuli, something you see, hear, remember, or another thought drifting by. Bang! The connection is made. The insight occurs.
Like the classic stories, Archimedes in the bath, Newton and the apple. The relaxed state allows the connection.
Exactly. The external cue, bathwater rising, falling apple, connects with the problem they'd been incubating internally. Bailey gives a fun puzzle example too, that 10-digit number where the digits are arranged alphabetically. 8, 5, 4, 9, 1, 7, 6, 3, 2, 0.
854. Yeah, trying to logic that out head on is tough.
Right, but if you step away, maybe you hear someone say the alphabet or see the word 8 written down. That external cue might suddenly trigger the insight. The digits are ordered by their spelled out names, 8, 5, 4, 9, 1. Scatterfocus allows those background connections to fire. The richer your mental library of dots.
Beyond just creativity, though, scatterfocus is critical for energy, right? You said hyperfocus is draining.
Immensely draining. It requires constant impulse control, filtering distractions, maintaining focus. It burns through your mental energy reserves. We absolutely have to recharge.
So how do we recharge effectively? Are there rules for breaks?
Yes, based on our natural biological rhythms.
Ah.
A key one is respecting our ultradian rhythm, these natural cycles of energy and alertness that run about every 90 minutes. So rule 1, take a proper break at least every 90 minutes of focused work. Don't try to just power through for hours on end.
Every 90 minutes. And how long should that break be? A quick 5 minutes?
Probably longer, actually. The general guideline is about 15 minutes of break for every hour of work.
15 minutes per hour? That sounds like a lot.
It does, but the data supports it. Bailey mentions analysis from a time tracking app, Desk Time. Their top 10% most productive users weren't working nonstop. They were working intensely for about 52 minutes, then taking a solid 17-minute break.
52 on, 17 off. That's specific.
It suggests that strategic, significant rest isn't slacking off. It's essential for maintaining high-quality focus over time. You invest break time to get better work time. You step back before you hit the wall.
And this ties into another really weird finding. Those times when you do feel tired, your low energy periods, they aren't useless.
Far from it. Bailey calls this your creative prime time. When you're mentally fatigued, the part of your brain that usually keeps your thoughts orderly and inhibits weird ideas, the cognitive control network, is weaker.
So being tired makes you less inhibited.
In a way, yes. It allows for more divergent thinking, more unusual connections. Studies actually back this up. People solve significantly more insight-based problems, about 27% more when they're tired compared to when they're at their peak alertness.
That's wild. So you should schedule different kinds of work for different energy levels.
Absolutely. Tackle your most demanding analytical requires deep focus. Necessary or purposeful work during your best prime time when you have the most energy. But save tasks that benefit from creative thinking, brainstorming, or problem-crunching scatterfocus for your creative prime time when you're naturally a bit more tired and less mentally rigid.
Okay, so scatterfocus connects ideas, but first, you need good ideas, good dots to connect. This brings us to the input side, being intentional about what information we consume.
Crucial point. If creativity and expertise come from connecting dots, the quality of those dots matters immensely. Remember, we only have that tiny 40-bit straw to sip information through. We had to be incredibly selective about what we let in.
So how do we judge the quality of a dot? How do we filter?
Bailey suggests thinking about information in terms of being useful and/or entertaining. Valuable dots tend to be both, or at least strongly one. Useful means it's actionable, practical, helps you achieve your goals, has a long shelf life. Think deep dive articles, challenging nonfiction books, learning a new skill, biographies of interesting people.
And trash information.
That's the low density stuff. Highly entertaining in the moment perhaps, but zero use, zero shelf life. Mindless scrolling through algorithm-fed videos, celebrity gossip, outrage-driven news headlines, binge-watching mediocre TV. It fills time, but doesn't build anything. Doesn't help you reach your intentions.
So the plan isn't just read more good books, it's also actively cut out the junk.
Yes. You have to be ruthless. Identify the information sources that consistently waste your time or leave you feeling drained or agitated, and consciously eliminate or drastically reduce them. And then this is keyly deliberately replace that time with something valuable.
Like swap 30 minutes of Twitter scrolling for 30 minutes of reading a challenging article.
Exactly. Or learning a language or listening to an informative podcast instead of channel surfing. The more diverse and valuable the dots you collect, especially from outside your usual field, the more potential fuel you have for unexpected insights during Scatterfocus.
Okay, as we start to wrap up this whole discussion on hyperfocus, the central theme seems to be this shift, doesn't it? From being passively swept along by distractions and demands to becoming deliberate, intentional architects of where our attention goes.
That's it, perfectly. It's about reclaiming agency over your most precious finite resource, your conscious attention. When you consciously choose hyperfocus for what matters and consciously choose scatterfocus for rest and insight, you start building momentum. You start accumulating knowledge and making connections in a way that leads towards real mastery.
And that connects back to the idea of genius not being magic.
Right. People like Einstein or Mozart seem almost superhuman, but Bailey emphasizes that their breakthroughs were the result of an immense amount of focused effort collecting and connecting countless dots. Einstein wasn't just thinking about physics. He played the violin for hours, likely using habitual scatter focus to mull over problems.
The 10,000-hour rule gets mentioned here, too, as a sort of benchmark for that level of focused practice.
It's a good shorthand. The book notes, Mozart probably hit his 10,000 hours by age 8. It underscores the sheer volume of deliberate practice combined with the ability to step back and let ideas connect. It's the interplay between hyperfocus and scatterfocus over long periods that builds expertise.
So if someone listening wants to put this into practice tomorrow, what's the single biggest structural change they should try?
I'd say, map your energy and match your tasks. Identify your best prime time when you naturally feel most focused and alert, and fiercely protect that time for your most important, demanding hyperfocus work. Your rule of 3 tasks.
Okay, guard the high energy time.
Then identify your creative prime time, that period where you typically feel a dip, maybe mid-afternoon, and schedule activities suited for scatterfocus then. Brainstorming, open-ended problem solving, reading something inspiring but less demanding, or even just taking that essential break. Don't fight your natural energy dips. Leverage them.
That makes so much sense. Work with your brain's rhythms, not against them. And let's finish with that really provocative idea Bailey leaves us with about guilt and breaks.
Yeah, this flips the script entirely. We often feel guilty about taking breaks, about wasting time daydreaming or resting. Bailey argues that time spent in scatterfocus, taking that walk, letting your mind wander, even getting enough sleep isn't lost time. It's an investment. You are trading time now for better energy, deeper focus, and richer insights later.
So the guilt is misplaced.
Completely. You should actually feel guilty about not taking breaks, because skipping those recharge periods means you're dulling your ability to hyperfocus effectively when you need it most. It's like trying to chop wood with a blunt axe. You need to stop and sharpen the axe. That's scatterfocus. Focus on the approach to work, including rest, not just the relentless, often unproductive action.
That's today's breakdown. While this discussion cannot replace the book's full text, it can offer a glimpse into its teachings. I hope you found this discussion helpful, and I look forward to sharing more. Let me know what book next you want to discuss.